Real quick, out of curiosity, just like for a fun experiment, basically, let's just pick a fighter to begin a comp with. Let's just from the ground up, and I'm just going to kind of start talking about things as they come up, just some theory behind it. Let's look in here. What is a fighter that intrigues you at all? We would all enjoy the games of people who are dumber. Yeah, that's just like the, man, if you're only like, if only we were too stupid to like understand the bad things and the problems that have to be solved, everything would be so much nicer. The games would have a longer shelf life, that's for sure. People cut, but think about like, we have these like people that are insanely smart doing crazy shit and dedicating hours and hours, and all these games are still like eternal games, like Diablo 2 or whatever. It's around for 20 years. That's like, people are as smart as they are, doing as crazy shit as they are, and it's still living. Like, that's crazy. Oh yeah, KK, we were talking about Beast, right? No, this is actually a super perfect way to do it. Okay. So we'll start with Krush. Tyrion is a green hero. Yeah, Tyrion is also in some of the kind of like GG or like the late game actual tryhard PvP comps too, which is cool. Okay, so yeah, with just King Krush here. So we'll go. I can make this a little bit bigger for you guys too. King Krush is a super good example of someone that is a great place to start when it comes to like level, like day one, what are we going to build? Look to a tribe, right? Like there are tribal synergies in this game, and King Krush happens to fall into the Beast tribal synergy. And so you can kind of see his abilities here. These are the level 1 abilities. So like as soon as you can, basically you get abilities as you level up in the game. I think you get your first one. You start with your first ability on the far left at level 1. At level 5, you get your second ability. And then at level 15, you get your third ability. So with these, you have to, like, the early game of Mercenaries is going to be so weird and different and, like, stagger step, I think, because it's going to take a while to get all your abilities and shit and go from there. But, Voteman, thanks for the follow. So the beginning is going to be weird, right? Like, it's going to be super duper weird. Master Yogg. Yeah, there you go. See, we got the triple starting to talk about. And so we will definitely get to that. Yogg, we'll see. So, point being, the beginning of Mercenaries is going to be super duper weird. We're going to be talking about late game, level 30. People have grinded out their comps. They've leveled up their shit. It's like you're playing in top 1000 Legend or whatever. Like, you're playing a real deck. It has all the real cards in it. You know how to play everything. You're not playing any, like, bullshit fake cards. You have your real deck. So we're going to be talking about real deck theory crafting this way. But, so let's start with King Krush. Apex Predator is his first ability. It's slow as fuck. And so the two things we need to look at for every ability is basically the speed of the actual ability itself, which is a 9 at level 1. But those things change as you level up. A 9 means that in a stack like Magic, each player is going to take their first turn and layer abilities onto a stack. That stack then resolves from fastest to slowest. So closest to 1 goes first. So you shoot right away. It's like speed in Pokemon, and you go down the stack or up the stack. I guess weirdly in Hearthstone or in Mercenaries, it's going to be like going up the stack, where Magic is going down the stack. But so Apex Predator is slow as shit. It comes to a 9 speed. It says like at the end of everything, then King Krush attacks the lowest health enemy. Death Blow, repeat this, which is kind of good now in this case. Now like the slow ability, it has a, if you kill something with it, do something. So you deal damage before your death blow. You try to get it down to execute range. You execute it, and you punch twice, and that's great. Cool. King Krush seems like it has a reasonable, like, execute style ability that we can line up towards the end of a fight, try to kill something, probably line it up with other DPS that can put someone to, like, 15, and then King Krush can crit them, kill them, and then hopefully shoot someone else. Already, this is what we're going to start thinking about in terms of, like, where does this comp go? Where do we start thinking about things in regards to comps? So, let's pull up King Krush over here. Bump. So this is his final state of gear. Oh, sorry. The other second important thing to think about, to pull this over real quick, is see this little number up here in on the 1 above the Devil Soar. You guys can see my mouse when I'm over here, right? Can you see my mouse when I'm swinging on this thing? I guess I can check it this way too. Nice. Okay, cool. You can. The second number up here, a 1, means that you have to wait from the beginning of combat. And this was a thing that changed everybody's understanding of Mercenaries. Literally, when I wrote my first Mercenaries article, like the Theorycraft article, as far as I understand it, the very first one that was ever put out like this. But we didn't know that from the bench, your mercenaries start to tick down their cooldown. So everyone thought, I thought, it seemed reasonable to assume that your mercenaries would, when they entered the battlefield, when they come into play, their cooldowns start ticking. Apparently, the PvP videos and things that we've seen from Slissa and Trump and Crip and stuff like that showed that that's not the case, that you can come off the bench and immediately rip an ability that has waited long enough from the bench. And one turn is not long at all. That is, after one turn, you might have a most one mercenary dead. You sub in, then you shoot your one-shot ability. A 2 up here is quite slow. That actually needs to wait for multiple people to die, or you can't bring it in right away, and that's why you have to wait for your second person to die, stuff like that. So that's the second like major thing to look at when we're looking at abilities, is basically how quickly does it come into the stack of a 9-405, and then how quickly does it actually allow to be cast as an option, which is up here in the cooldown. So it's basically speed and cooldown are the two things that we're looking at and have to gauge. With regards to these numbers, again, 9 is slow. It goes from 1 to 10. 9 is very slow. It seems like the competitive meta is going to revolve around speed, at least trying not to be too slow or too greedy with what you do, which is a classic kind of truism that you see represented in all kinds of other card games, all kinds of other competitive games, from Melee to Magic to WoW to Hearthstone. All of these different things, like if you can do something really efficiently, really quickly, it tends to be very good. As a rule, aggro tends to dominate and dictate the way that metagames happen, because if you ask the questions and you try to take advantages before your opponent, if they fuck up, you just win. So you need to be at least kind of fast, and it seems like the good speed to think of in terms of what is an acceptable speed, I would say is 4. 4 seems like it opens at a... Without any speed buffs, 4 starts to happen first for the most part. There are some like bullshitty abilities, or again like late game comps that go down to like 0 and 1 and 2 speeds on purpose. But I would say that 4 is kind of the middle of the speed. Not 5, 6 and 7 are now like slow. So again, something just to think about. Real deck hate talk after getting beaten by Froth and Berserker yesterday. No, hey, we deserved that loss. We deserved that loss. He was playing a sweet one. Too much face damage right away. But so we'll slide this puppy away. So when you look at King Krush at max level, and again, he is a beast, so he has a type, which is what we're going to try to build our comp around. And so Yogg was just talking about there are 2 other options that we can pull up that might also make sense. And that's when we'll start talking about color here as well, where we see that King Krush is green. He's a fighter, which means that in the rock, paper, scissors metagame of what this game is going to be, King Krush deals double damage to blue guys. Fighters beat up on blue guys, which are casters. Casters beat up on protectors, which are red. Protectors beat up on fighters, which are green. So basically your tanks beat up your tanks beat up your rogues beat up your mages beat up your tanks. It makes sense. Yogg started talking to you too. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, for this kind of shit, if we see another Cosmic Brain Jess guy, but for Mercenaries, it's over. It's absolutely over. Believe me, you don't want me cranking that many pages about this game just yet. So King Krush is really good at killing blue guys. It would seem for now, it would stand to reason that we want your front line to have a well-rounded composition. The way that the numbers tend to work in this game are actually really cool, and I think really well spaced. Where I was talking about this a little bit earlier yesterday, but Hearthstone, standard Hearthstone, suffers from what can be referred to as like a small numbers problem, where Ruined Mithril Rod costs 3 mana. You draw 4 cards, and you reduce your hand by 1. All of those numbers are less than 5. If you go up or down by a single number on any of those, you're getting these like 20 to 50% equity changes in what is actually happening to your card. That makes it really, really, really difficult to actually balance things, to actually make things not just go over the limit or way under the limit, almost by accident. Mercenaries, on the other hand, gets to have the perfect number size, very much obviously so on purpose. Again, shout outs to the good people that are working on some of these games that will prove to be really cool, I think. Here instead we have numbers like King Krush has 11 attack at full level, 72 health. Like that number just does not track at all to you if you're used to playing Hearthstone. Like 72 is not a number that shows up. And so what this means is that if for some reason King Krush is like really good, you could do something like nerf his health by 5. That's a wide swing of numbers still to go from 70 to 60 something. And honestly, a change in 5 is a good shove, but nothing like crazy. It's not just going from 3 to 4. And that's going to be a really, really big deal. Yeah, but that's a super good point, KK. 72 is Battlegrounds numbers. And the nerfing, and Battlegrounds works at getting nerfed at like the low level of when the numbers in Battlegrounds are still 3 to 5. When you start getting gigantic, then it matters a little bit less. But even that is a cool parallel too to this, right? Where instead we're probably not going to see many huge nerfs that really like, oops, break something, or oops, something was broken from what someone's attack is or what someone's health is. If anything, what is going to dictate this game are the abilities, because the abilities start to get into small number problem situations. And what small number problem kind of ultimately also means is that that's where you should be looking. That's where the power lies. That's where something that is a game-breakingly sick card or unplayable, that line is found in the abilities. So we're going to be looking to the abilities mostly when evaluating who we want to play and why. Not only that, but then we have to start thinking about how do our abilities go together with the rest of our guys. But you can look at them in a vacuum as well. In Heroes, they do the bulk of nerfs through plus or minus 5% on HP or damage. Like that, do they literally do it as like a percent? Because that's super cool if they do. Like, imagine if League just did pure percent-based changes. Or in this, you could do percent with the health and attack, but not with the abilities. Like, the numbers gets kind of awkward, but yeah, Undead is theoretically a tribe for now. Again, these kind of like, again, super warning, all the numbers that you see here are subject to change. They're very different. The letters, numbers, and colors on any of these could definitely change. Let me see, actually. Let me tweet out real quick. I forgot that I didn't tweet the thingy for some reason. Yeah, so Undead is theoretically a tribe. I think someone was saying that Arthas or Lich King might be human. But yeah, for the moment, Undead is a tribe, but we also see that, like, yeah, Orc is a tribe, which has a lot of support. That's one of the first places, again, we're not going to be talking about, we'll keep going on beasts, but you see Human has a lot of support, Gnome has no support yet, Tauren, but again, these are all opportunities for things to just get developed down the line, right? That's really, really cool. Most of these heroes are associated with other colors, you noticed? Arthas blue, Thrall green, Uther yellow. Yeah, all these, when you think about it, again, WoW does a really good job of lining up a color with a guy, like a color in your mind. All the classes in Hearthstone are dictated by a color. Like when you think Illidan, you can think green and purple, right? Like that's really cool. They do a great job with that. And that design is going to bleed into this game probably more than Hearthstone by a large margin. A largen, perhaps. Okay, King Krush. Step 1, we pick King Krush. He's max level. What the heck does he do at high level? Let's look at what the numbers are. He's got 11 attack, which is good. That's fine. Your fighters should have your high attack numbers on them. 72 health is actually like pretty healthy. For a fighter, that's not bad. Like 60s are low health late game. 70s are average health. And then 80s are like, shit, you're tanky. And to go back to that small numbers thing, it seems like the numbers that people are doing are in chunks of like 20 to 40. That is kind of the smallest good unit of value, of like unit of damage and healing that looks to be the case. So that's pretty cool to think about, that people have health between 60 and 80, which you can round down to, let's say, 3 to 4 health. And the average character, the average mercenary, is doing around, I would say, 20 to 40 damage, including crits, right? So that's including like when you double damage whoever you're strong against. So King Krush will deal double damage against blue guys. So we can round that down to 2 to 4. So everyone has health from 3 to 4, and then everyone's doing damage in chunks of 2 to 4. No, sorry, from chunks of 1 to 2. Yeah. Yeah. So everyone has, so because no one's really getting one shot, right? So everyone is getting 2 shot by people that are good against them, and then like 4 shot by people that are slow against them or weak against them, which is pretty cool. So like now again, like we can kind of reduce all of these seemingly large numbers down to very specific numbers, and we can kind of tell that things are going to go pretty fast. We're still actually working with numbers that are 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, but they take place over the course of multiple turns, which gets really, really interesting, and that is the core of what Mercenaries is going to revolve around. I would say the average fight in Mercenaries will probably take something like 6 to 8 turns, where in turn 1, you're going to see probably a mercenary dying, turn 2, a mercenary dying, turn 3 and 4, maybe a mercenary dies, and then turn 5 and 6, you have like another 2 mercenaries dying, and then the game is essentially over by then. It looks like the average turn speed of this game is going to be, I would say, let's say 6. Which, again, that number starts to make a lot of sense too. We can kind of write some of these off to the side. That, like, the average reduced health is, I would say, 3 to 4, and the average damage range is 1 to 2. I would say loosely the average turns is 6. And average good speed is 4. I would say these numbers more or less track to what's going on. Can we make the font bigger? Never lucky. Oh, really? Oh, did these because we can wrap around all these? I didn't know that. Neat. Okay, cool. Okay, so I would say that these numbers more or less make sense in terms of, again, ways to think about this game. So people are getting 2 to 4 shot. So you're going to have, I mean, and again, that kind of means that like 2 to 4 abilities have gone off. You get 3 abilities per turn. Actually, that's even kind of interesting to think about too, right? So that means you're going to be getting like, if let's say that the average turns are 6 and you're getting 3 abilities per turn, 18 abilities, does that make sense? Per game. That's a really cool thing to start thinking about too, in terms of how do we start lining all that kind of information up, right? So there's a ton of cool, really deep, already hidden stuff that you can start shrinking and growing and expanding and extrapolating numbers around to start working with all kinds of stuff that can start getting coded. And I'm telling you that in the future, coding a simulator for this will be a thing. Anywho, looking at King Krush's abilities. At high level, we said he's got okay attack, and he's got okay health. So stat-wise, nothing jumps out. Nothing's too crazy. Fine. He's got a single check mark for his normal abilities, or for his normal stats. First ability, Apex Predator. We saw that ability was at 9 speed at first. That thing cranks down to Apex Predator going down to a 5 speed. Which is, again, looking at our average good speed, that's like slow. That means that a lot of people are going to be attacking before you, but that's okay. Again, right? Like, you want this to be a death blow. As long as he doesn't just get one shot, then you're going to be able to get your Apex Predator off. And so, ideally, you also want to start thinking about, okay, can we line up a deck that plays with 4-speed, 3-speed, 2-speed abilities, right? Because we want to be able to have Apex Predator killing them and then death blow attacking again, right? In the ideal state for Apex Predator is that it is a killing blow and you double hit with it. So that means you're going to be attacking for 11 and then attacking for another 11. That's pretty good. That's like a good amount of damage. I would say that, again, if you, let's say one of those abilities, you attack a blue guy, right? So you crit, so you deal 22 damage and then you deal 11 damage. 30 damage in a turn is good. 30 damage is good, but that has a requirement to it, so it's not necessarily exactly straightforward. Terrify is his other ability that it seems like is even faster. It starts at a 4 speed. Gain +5 attack for each of your beasts and attack a random enemy. This is the first number that as soon as you read these, you go, whoa. If we have a team with 3 beasts in it, or could we even get up to 4 beasts, we're suddenly going from 11 attack to 30 to 26. Like, that number should just blow your mind in terms of going like, whoa, okay, now again, we have a direction, right? Like, we can start thinking about, can we really get terrified, juice the Jesus out of King Krush, get him up to a 30 attack guy, and literally, if you attack a blue guy, you could just one-shot them. If they're even slightly low and you attack a random blue guy, so again, random means that that's always spooky, right? Like, the 1 in 3 is a big deal, but even if you hit someone for 30, sure, that's fine. And this probably goes through taunt too, which is powerful, and we'll see that down the line as well. But so now we know, okay, cool. We want to start thinking about, can we get a lineup that potentially has 4 beasts in it, or 3 beasts in it for our front line? His second ability is, or his third ability, which you get at level 30, is summon a beast. We don't have I think we have the specific numbers somewhere else for what it is, but it has rush, so it can attack right away, which is pretty cool. And it gives you another beast, right? So if you can get to the point where you can summon a Devilsaur and then Terrify, now you're getting another +5 attack. That might actually be worth it if you can kind of time it out. Again, the stats on Devilsaur, it would have to be pretty good, right? To give up an attack with King Krush is... You kind of want to be punching or eating something every turn, right? You have to commit to taking a turn off to summon your Devilsaur. But if you have a lot of good beast synergies, again, maybe this is totally fine. Maybe you turn 1, maybe you just go... You try to go for the death blow on turn 1 with Apex Predator. Turn 2, you go summon a Devilsaur, and then turn 3 is your Terrify, get a ton of attack and then attack something. But can King Krush live until then? Will your opponent be able to know, oh, this is what they're lining up to do? Do I have to counter that? Do you have a counter to their counter? And this is when Mercenaries actually gets cool. This is when Mercenaries is truly sick. Is when you start getting into what that math looks like, what that next level PvP stuff is. Again, as soon as I started writing that other article, I was just like, this game is absurd. I am going to be able to talk for the next 4 hours just about this game, just using this stupid Excel sheet. If that doesn't inspire hope in you for a competitive scene that's actually really dynamic and interesting, hopefully the rest of what I say will be enough to inspire that. But I am, if nothing, full of hope, simply because of we picked a random beast that's only seemingly okay-ish, and we'll have already been able to talk about and think about so many different things, and you can imagine worlds where it's actually pretty good, and then if you have other really sick beasts, this might get even better. Now all of a sudden, if you can set up death blows really consistently and you're double hitting, can you create any other kind of combos with it? And it's just a random 1 of 50, and they can print another 600 Mercenaries tomorrow if they really wanted to, just by pulling random WoW characters, random Diablo characters, random StarCraft characters. Like, the sky is truly the limit for this game, and I think you barely have to introduce new stuff, and it will still be really interesting. And if it follows any kind of like gacha game scheme, you'll be able to this game is not a gacha game as well. I firmly stand by that. Karkar, thanks for the follow. This game is not a gacha game. It will be very easy to free to play. I'm going to be free to playing it. I might not even spend my 4,000 or gold right away. I literally might even open like 10 packs and then see what I have from there. 20 packs, see what I have from there. 30 packs, see what I have from there. There is a legendary pity timer, so after your first 10 packs, you're guaranteed a legendary, and then there's the pity timer of 20 packs after that. So 30 packs is a good thing to go to. The bundles give you 50, so the bundle's going to be giving you like 4 legendaries, including the pre-order one, so that's pretty cool. But you don't really need that much. And honestly, most of the legendary characters aren't even that sick. I would say that the one legendary I want the most is Uther, and we'll potentially talk about him later. Because Uther starts to show a lot of the really cool, deep Discord stuff that we've been talking about. But that's for later. We've looked at King Krush's abilities. Now let's look at his equipment. I remember this was probably the one thing that I saw in the announcement video where I went, okay, this game's going to be fucking sick. When they started showing the characters, they showed the abilities, and then they told you that there was equipment that you could get. That's when I was like, that's all that you need. You just need that slight modifier. You need that option. You need that option outside of your options to customize, to personalize, to suddenly triple. Every single different character now has multiple different specs, right? Like, this is the equivalent of saying each mercenary has a holy spec, a prot spec, and a fury spec or whatever, right? Like, it's just 3 different ways to consider building it that you can continue to move or audible in one direction or another based on which guys you open. If you have King Krush, but he's your only beast, maybe you try to finagle him towards not ever casting Terrify, so you'd never take your fresh meat equipment, which gives Terrify an additional 4 attack, right? Maybe you go instead into Rocky Carapace, which gives your Devilsaur, it makes your Devilsaur tankier. Do you instead now use King Krush as kind of like he comes off the bench and summons Devilsaur right away that gets to attack? Or do you just take straight Flaming Claws, you still have him as an opener, passive 8 attack, he's now has a 19 attack, and if you Apex Predator, now this means that you get to execute people a little bit better. King Krush can just be used as an execute bot, where he specifically you try to target casters. And so we might have a 2 or 3 fighter lineup that tries to go crit you, King Krush, crit you, kill you, attack you again. That's viable. You don't even need any other beasts to do it. No Gacha game lets you craft grind for specific things. Right, that's the biggest difference, right? Is that this game actually lets you just, like, technically you can't craft mercenaries with a neutral dust in this game, I think, supposedly at the moment. You kind of have to wait to open the coins or whatever, but those kind of questions we're not super positive about either. But yeah, this game is not going to be a guy, like, we should dispel the notion of gacha game from this immediately. I was never convinced that it was going to be difficult for free to play, and they gave us more info that let us know that it was actually going to be very doable. I think that the napkin math, I love using that quote for this quote, but the napkin math is something like 200, I think it was like 290 packs to get a full collection on day 1. But that curve is represented by, like, the crazy, like, I forget the best way to describe it, but, like, that difference between, like, 95%, 99%, and 99.9% are, like, huge chunks, right? So, like, the fact that you can actually get 95% of a collection probably in, like, just maybe 100 to 200 packs, like, again, gets much different, much easier. But it's so I think it was 310 for all of them, but then they took away Valera from day 1, so I think it dropped by, like, a little chunk. And that makes sense, right? If there's just 20 packs and say that every 20 packs is legendary. So I think it dropped down to 290, but no, good looks for that one. So you can choose to grind for Uther coins, so you can get Uther sooner. Yeah, so with the Uther coins grinding thing, though, I think it just requires that you need to find wherever Uther is in the PvE, and then you can grind that, and then you can get the specific one. So you're still definitely right? That you can, as long as it works that way, where there is every single legendary represented on the PvE map that lets you grind for those coins, and, like, know that you're grinding for it, then yeah, then the game just gets so easy, like, very quickly. And you can say, I want this guy. I'm just going to spend the next, even if it's 10 hours, let someone grind 10 hours of doing a PvE fight to get their legendary. Sure, that's perfect. I mean, that's the free to play grind, right? Like, that is saying, no, that's what I'm going to do. I will spend my time. I will not spend my money. I will spend my time, and I will just grind it and earn it and do the specific ones that I want that way. Have that extra unique little challenge. Again, I'm going to be free to playing it. Every game that you can free to play that I play, I try to do it that way. I don't break the seal. So we're going to be doing it, and I have no concerns whatsoever. I have a lot of a lot of gold saved up, but I think it's going to be totally fine. But, okay, so King Krush. The cool part about from this screen is that we actually don't really have to click anything else, highlight anything else. We can just say, we've got King Krush here. We can look at him, keep it in mind. The way that we've been doing it on Discord for writing up comps is that you'll have your first 3 up front, your bench 3 from the bottom, but when you write it out in text form, you italicize your openers. So you would know, if we just had it in a list, King Krush, Thrall, Uther, Lich King, Guff, Millhouse, for example, just using these fake guys. And we started with this lineup up front, then we would italicize these 3 so you can read it in just text form, which is cool. Like, I love being able to find out those kind of, like, just, like, wording, language, like, nuances. I also think that I would advocate for saying, like, 3 3/1 for 3 speed, 1 cooldown. I don't know how frequently that's going to be usable in like just an average talking like day-to-day lexicon in Mercenaries, but we can look forward to 10-hour streams from you, right? No, absolutely. We're going to be getting some big long Mercenary streams for grinding. If you imagine, that would be pretty fun, honestly, if it was like, all right, today is we want Uther. The start of this stream, we don't have Uther. The end of this stream, we're fucking getting Uther. Like, that'd be kind of cool. As long as the PvE is cool. As long as the PvE doesn't make you just want to explode. Sure, rip it. Okay. King Krush. Someone else. Let's take a look at some of the other Let's take a look at some of the other cards that we could have optionable to go with Krush. So we already said that beasts are an angle. Are there any other beasts? Yagur's up here mentioned. Krush, Anacondra, Mukla. So let's go to Mukla next, because Mukla is kind of a good example of... I think he's a protector, but Mukla's another good example of like, all right, we want to look for a beast, and so we're going to find a beast. So let's go down to King Mukla. Also, by the way, I didn't even know that this was the way that it worked, but each character has 3 different skins. They've got a base skin, a secondary skin, and a third skin, which by itself is already like sick. Like, wait a minute, like if you're just using baby Mukla and he was like your Smurf, like if you had like a golden baby Mukla skin, because that's the thing, is you can get goldens of each of these, and then a diamond portrait of just the legendaries of their first one. But I'm pretty sure you can just have like golden baby Mukla. Like it'll actually, and like this guy, like this like big ass green abominable Yeti Mukla, like that's actually sick too. Like the skins are actually pretty cool. And the fact that you can again get them golden and stuff, like having a golden lineup of 6 is really sweet. Like you don't have to golden out your entire deck. Like that's not even like not 30 cards like in Hearthstone. So you can get those from packs and stuff, and so that'll honestly be kind of fun. Like, I honestly never really care about aesthetics like that. Again, being free to play. If I have skins in League, it's because we opened them, or if someone like gifted it to me or whatever. But I'm actually kind of hyped to have like some of the sick skins for these. But so let's go with Mukla. Or first, let's look at what Mukla's numbers are, right? Or what their abilities are. We got Banana Frenzy, and so he's a protector, so he's dealing double damage to green guys, and having a well-rounded team is probably a good way to go. But so Mukla's abilities are Banana Frenzy, give 7, so slow, but again at max level it gets faster, but 7, give 1 banana randomly to your characters and attack an enemy. That's pretty slow. Again, let's assume that bananas probably level up to like 3 bananas at max rank. So it's give +3/+3 to your team, spread out, and punch something. Underwhelming, I would say. But we'll look at the max stat in a second. Dinner Time, so a 4/1, so with 1 cooldown, so you can't use it on turn 1. So Mukla's actually, again, looking at the third ability too. Mukla's third ability is Primal Power, which is also a 1 cooldown. So if you start with him on the bench, he has 1 option no matter what every time you have to Banana Frenzy. So that starts to shape and constrict what our turn 1 openers are going to be, or if we want Mukla to be from the opener. Loot Muncher, thanks for the follow. But game Taunt is pretty cool on Dinner Time. We haven't talked about this much yet, but Taunt seems like it's going to be not a huge part of the game. I think people are going to want to smork a lot more. I think people are going to want to have cool combo decks instead, cool casters. And there's a lot of ways to get around Taunt, but a really cool monkey wrench in all of this, speaking of Mukla, is that Taunt gets to dictate some early anti-aggro openers, because you can beat fighters and things like King Krush or Samuro that we'll see, Thrall that we might see in a second, where they try to eliminate someone right away, and Taunt actually stops that. Then we start to look at, okay, who can taunt fast enough, and that becomes another rabbit hole. But we'll get there in a second. But so Mukla has a taunt on 2, which is good. That's good to know. That you do have access to an opening lineup that has taunt not on 1, but on 2, and so if you can build a lineup that can not get 1 shot on turn 1, you can lead into a taunt. So that's chill. Summons are neutral, and we're about to look at a summon in a second, because the best part about Mukla, in my opinion, is one of his, not abilities, but one of his items. Third ability is Primal Power, a 3/1. Give a friendly beast +5 attack and immune while attacking. That starts to look real nice with King Krush. And so now, okay, we've got options. We actually have a cool little pivot on 2, where you could go, all right, evaluate the board state. Are we destroying someone this turn? Or are we tanking up this turn to fade their onslaught? option select kind of Mukla like that's actually pretty chill. So actually, honestly, his first ability looks like pretty bad, but things start to kind of come up Millhouse once you look at the rest of it. So let's pull over. We'll look at the items in a second. Let's make our second one Mr. Mukla. With the caveat that most taunts have a cooldown of 1, right? So yes, but no. Critically, not every taunt has a cooldown of 1, which means that if you can have a taunt on turn 1, that is a huge game changer. And there are 2 to 3 characters, 2 to 3 mercenaries that can taunt on 1. And they, as expected, have a huge leap in equity in terms of if you want a taunter on 1, you actually have only a couple options, but there are options. And so the difference between a taunt on turn 0 and a taunt on turn 1 and a taunt on turn 2 is massive, right? Because if you're against aggro, you need to taunt against aggro right away. If you don't, they just go, oops, your guy's dead, and you go, ah, fuck me. So ideally, if the meta game is suited to, or you want to be the deck that taunts to prevent certain openers, Invasion Warrior, thanks for the follow. If you want to be able to taunt to stop those openers, then you do have some options. And Uther is one of them, which is why Uther is one of my standouts for one of the kind of the ideal characters I think that we want. Wadswit, thanks for the follow too. Appreciate the stream. Hey, absolutely. Again, I cannot understate that this is one of the streams that you want to be at once Mercenaries comes out. I've got some big exciting news coming up as well in terms of our collaboration with people. We're going deep into the Discord. Definitely, this might be to my Discord. I honestly want to change it. It is my Discord. Okay. Thanks, Will How-To, for the follow. Let me find the Discord link right now so I can have this for you guys. Everybody coming true. I appreciate it. Let me just find a little link for this that's easy enough. Again, hop in, hidden, use copy. You can copy if I control C, copy it, it doesn't work. Okay. All right, there we go. There's the Discord link. So again, if you guys are interested in this at all, and again, if you're here and we're talking about this, like, I specialize in going deep and talking a shit ton about this. I think it's super fun. I think it's one of the most fun parts about the game. If you want to go this deep, if you think that this is fun and exciting, join the Discord. Stay tuned to these streams once Mercenaries comes out, among some other things. Check out the article that I wrote for esports. We're going to be writing more articles as well. Baby's first Theorycraft was missing a ton of information. We did not know so much shit. Most importantly, the fact that cooldowns work from the bench, right? And so we're going to be keeping that in mind as we keep going here. But I appreciate everyone coming through. And again, I think we have a lot to offer. I think you will not be disappointed. And I would love to get to the size that is... I need your respect in terms of being able to listen to me just going ham for a while. And playing it will be very, very fun, I think, too, which will be awesome. But I appreciate everyone coming through. Shadow Ranger, thanks for the follow, too. Okay, so we've got Mukla. We've seen his abilities. Let's look at their max level abilities real quick. Similarly to King Krush, we've got 11 attack. Fine, reasonable, sure. Health, 77. Pretty good, tanky enough. Again, you're getting shit on as a protector by casters. Becomes this cool, again, rock, paper, scissors system where Mukla is soft against casters. If you want to beat up on casters, you can take a lot of fighters. King Krush also wants to gobble up casters. Maybe now all of a sudden Beasts looks to be this kind of anti-caster comp where you go like Mukla, double fighter. So you have 2 guys that crit fighters, or sorry, you have 2 guys that crit casters. You don't have casters, which means that you're actually good against fighter comps. Mukla has a taunt, which is good against fighter comps. And now, again, things start to snowball into cool little comp ideas, which is pretty cool. We have VODs at the beginning of this or post on YouTube. I will actually probably I'll probably just like highlight either the beginning of this or save the VOD or something like that and split it up, do something like that. I'm definitely on the hunt for an editor type of person to be able to catch some of these, but the VOD will be up for a little bit. I'll try to save this because I think this has a lot of good info in it. Unfortunately, it's going to be like a long-ass VOD, but maybe I'll go and cut it up a little bit. Okay, so we've got Mukla. Again, health, normal, attack, normal. Banana Frenzy goes up to 5 bananas. I kind of conservatively said that it was like, all right, let's say it goes to 3 bananas, right? Like the Mukla thing is like, haha, 3 bananas. Or like, I guess in Battlegrounds, like it spreads. Like you get 2 and someone else gets 1 kind of stuff. But 5 bananas is a lot of bananas. It can go to Mukla as well. And so again, The difference between 3 being spread across 11 damage and 5 being spread across 11 damage is, again, a pretty significant bump. That's like, again, a 50% stat increase from what I expected it to be. So 5 bananas, pretty good. Again, when you're trying to punch stuff, you're trying to eat stuff, not bad. It can weirdly be counted as a heal, too. I'm sure, I promise you, that in a month, there will be multiple people who will throw bananas on stuff, and King Krush will live at 1 because of a banana, and you're gonna get pissed about it. Like, that experience will happen. The banana will incite that kind of frenzy. But so not bad. Again, the ability's fine. Second ability, eat 3 bananas and gain taunt this turn. Did the first one even say eat a banana? Huh, it did. I missed that part. Eat 1 banana. So Mukla himself actually juices up and give yourself +3/+3 and taunt. That's nice. 14 attack is pretty juicy, and you attack back when people attack you with an actual sword or their face or whatever it actually is. So things like that, especially with taunts, right? You very significantly try to make sure that your taunters can have a good amount of damage to them, which, again, this kind of multiplication, I don't think we know. I'm sure if I looked in a video, we could know for sure, but, or if someone wants to correct me, they could say it, but, I don't think you crit back when someone attacks you. So Mukla does double damage to fighters, but I don't think you deal double damage to them when they attack you through the taunt. So it's not the super duper nuts, but it's still really good. Like, being able to punch back for 14 is a big deal. So that's not to be slept on. Absolutely not to be slept on. And then Primal Power, the 3/1 at max rank. Give a friendly beast +15 attack and immune while attacking this turn. So it literally could be seen as a gain 15 attack and heal for 15. Like, give +15/+15 for a turn. That is a lot of stats. That is a big number. That is double, triple your attack, essentially, in many cases. And King Krush, with the death blow, now starts to look pretty goofy. You will definitely have Primal Power, give King Krush +15 attack, munch something, crit it, kill it, munch something, crit it, kill it, munch something, crit it, kill it, triple kill. Like, that will also happen, and it's going to be sick. Will I be putting these theory crafts anywhere? So the Discord has a section. Again, check that Discord link up above a little bit. That Discord has a link for, or it has a little chat part where we're just posting lineups, and so you can go and find lineups there. True crit only works on attacking. Okay, cool, thank you, perfect. Some confirmation there. We post our lineups in that new build section, and then there's a builds chat where we kind of talk about it, and that's where most people are kind of actually chit-chatting. Again, like Vex, Tamaka, Leaf. I think this spreadsheet was made by Leaf, and Vex and Tamaka are a lot of the ones that are doing like a lot of the manual simming. So again, super shout out to them. Vex is making some YouTube videos too. If you just search like VECZ, it's in the Discord in the self-promote section, etc. there. So check that out too, because again, they're smurfing. It's like they deserve a ton of credit, and I'm sure there are a lot of people behind the scenes too doing a lot of stuff. Like, I know Lazy Peon was starting to kind of accumulate a ton of information, but then this got released and it kind of fucked him. But anyways, Mukla, 15 attack, that's a lot of numbers. Mukla is kind of oddly just number centric, right? And so the biggest problem or thing to look out for him is that, like, the numbers from him are either good enough, right? He's either a 3 mana 5/5 and that's good enough and he's strong, or he's a 3 mana 5/5 and that's not good enough. The downside is too high. He's purely just a numbers guy. He doesn't do any kind of unique manipulating of the board state. He doesn't do any real healing, but kind of. He doesn't have any actual CC, but he does have some taunt, but it's kind of slow. His numbers are kind of odd. They're kind of all around the place. But that's until we look at his third equipment, Mukla's big brother. Battle Cry, summon a 12/24 beast with taunt. This is one of the most unique items in the game in that it allows you to play a merc that doesn't have a taunt, but staple a taunt onto them. All that you care about with taunt, for the most part, is being able to, most importantly, stop a singular onslaught, because then from there, you get to have an entire turn of actions, and then can finagle and position yourself into having your turn 2, have another series of actions that can beat aggro. Just a single, like, you can literally think of Mukla's big brother as like a noble sacrifice. It is just a prevent one attack. Have you ever noble sacked an Ashbringer attack? Have you ever noble sacked the 2020? Like, it is so much more relevant. This could have been summon a 1/1 beast with taunt, and this equipment would be very, very strong. I think this is the single reason why you would play Mukla, is to play with Big Brother. Their other abilities are not that great, though actually kind of funny. Radioactive bananas. Bananas give an additional 2 attack. That's suddenly now you're giving plus 15 attack on your banana frenzy. Like, that's not nothing. And or an additional 4 health. You heal for another like 20. His items are pretty sick. And so Mukla's actually looking pretty nice when it comes to a lot of these. But in my opinion, still, the Mukla's Big Brother is the best incentive to kind of play with this comp. And I would probably lean towards playing that. But we have some cool play patterns already, just with Mukla and Krush, right? We've got like Terrify. Oh, look, all of a sudden, Mukla summons a beast with taunt. Terrify gets to check for 1 more beast. Now we get another plus 5 attack on King Krush. That is a really strong synergy. Starting to come together. Excuse me. Doesn't seem to quite likely to be a 15 heal. Unlikely the target you're attacking has 15 attack, but still useful damage reduction. Yeah, 15 heal is kind of a hyperbole, I would say, for sure. It's the kind of just like the most qualitatively rounded up version of what this 15-15 represents. But even if let's say it's a plus 15 gain 10. I think a lot of characters tend to have 10 on average. Sure, fine. Again, definitely awesome, especially when we're thinking and remembering that our average health is taking 3 to 4 hits. Plus 10 health is one more, that's one more ability. That's that difference between 0 and 1, which is a really, really, really big deal, which is good to know. And so again, Mukla could be on that border, right? If you get a fully leveled up Mukla, some of their numbers might just be perfect enough to slide some turns, like have these really kind of sneaky math-altering turns with the bananas. And even if you just go Banana Frenzy, and you have some equipment that pump up your bananas, like you're suddenly throwing 30, 40 points of stats around. That's hard to, that just fucks with your ideas. That just fucks with your comp. That messes up trying to kill someone, right? You can normally count up the math while you're setting up the stack of how the turn is going to go. But if you're counting and they're exactly dead, but Mukla is about to Banana Frenzy, now you're coin flipping, not killing them. And if you get a whole nother turn to attack, things start to fall apart. So pretty cool that Mukla is actually like secretly disruptive with having some of these bananas flying around and messing up some numbers. Again, this is, we're 2 guys in, we're talking 2 mercenaries in, and with mercenaries that aren't even high tiered. These aren't even the strong mercenaries from what we've been talking about from the Discord. Like, there are very few King Krush Mukla comps, but this is a comp that is very face up from the beginning of the game. You look at a tribe, you look at beasts, you take the cool fancy dinosaur, and then you see what goes well with big fancy dinosaur. Big Monkey Man has double Monkey Man plus dinosaur actually is cool. Like, the options truly seem limitless. And I would have killed for them to have actually, for Blizzard to have kind of made this the highlight of what the announcement video was, rather than just kind of blowing people out of the way with too many numbers that don't make sense. Oh, it's got lots of information very fast. Okay, now it's over. By the way, it costs money. Like, that was just not the way to do it. And so, but I and other people on the Discord, we saw through the veil, and we're excited. So again, I hope that you guys can just get excited too. We've got Krush. Any of their equipment is fine. We've got Mukla. I would probably say that we probably want to start with Big Brother. So we're going to be summoning a taunt right away. So we actually have a good aggro matchup in that way. And so now we can kind of tech for aggro with the Mukla's Big Brother. And we can try to still tech for casters with Double Fighter. So now let's see, is there a third fighter that we might want to play to go with this gang? Or we could look at the casters and see, do we want to have just a well-rounded comp of 1-1-1 so that we know that we can crit? Like, again, if we take a fighter protector comp and they have a double protector comp, we get destroyed because we're playing double fighter. We get crit most of the time. We never get to crit. Like, those are the things that are going to be the kind of self-correcting mechanisms in this game, which is why it looked scary in the FAQ that they released, like the updated FAQ that Blizzard released for this, where they said, we don't actually expect to patch very many things. That looked spooky, as if they were like, haha, hands off the wheel. Get fucked. I hope it's not shitty. But that's not what it was, right? It was, instead, they were saying, no. We have actually, we believe that we put in a lot of systems into this game that allow the community and allow just the nature of rock, paper, scissors to even itself out. That if Mukla King Krush is just broken, no one can beat it on day one, play casters. Play things that get around taunt. Play things that can not get deathblowed easily. Like, you can just, if they're playing green, just play red. If they're playing blue, just play green. If a green guy is really broken, now you start to see a lot more blue guys probably. Or, sorry, a lot more red guys. But then if you start seeing a lot more red guys, people will just be able to go, oh, maybe instead I'll start playing more blue guys. Do you start running into the good green guy if you take blue guys? can you just tech in one guy to be good against the one green guy, still play a lot of blue guys, counter the red guys that are countering the good green guy? That's just what the meta is going to do, and what anyone can do at any given point, regardless of buffs, regardless of nerfs, regardless of collection. You can basically do this with nearly any comp. You don't have to have the triple, quadruple, quintuple beast comp. You can just play green guys if you actually run into a lot of blue guys. And that is why they hopefully won't be able to nerf or won't need to nerf or buff very much. They just introduce another blue guy, that stirs the pot for a little bit. Introduce a cool little green guy, stir the pot for a little bit. And that is, again, something I think to get excited for. Anacondra seems like a good choice for making a big Krush. Yeah, so I think this is the Yogg comp that we were talking about before this, or that Yogg was mentioning. So let's find Anacondra in here. I think they put her down as a fighter, which is kind of a meme, because she seems very castery. But sure, yeah, let's go with... Because again, even looking at these guys, right, like there really aren't many beasts. In the casters, it seems like beast is not a very caster-heavy comp, which makes sense, right? Like, you're the jungle red-green like beasts. There isn't much mana. There isn't much magic. You have rage, you have energy, you don't have much mana. When it comes to beast comp, makes sense. So let's go take a peek at some of the fighters. We mentioned Lady Anacondra. Let's look at what Lady Anacondra is. So Anacondra has boring skins, unlucky, but her abilities are ones that also changed recently in terms of our understanding from the Discord of what was good or bad. First ability is Serpent's Bite. 5 speed, no cooldown. Sounds good. Slow-ish. Deal 2 damage to a character. At the end of this turn, it takes another 2 damage. So basically, deal 4. But that's a level 1. And if they die before the end of the turn, you don't get full value, which is definitely something to note. If you only get 1 tick of Serpent's Bite, it's not a strong ability. If you get both, it's probably pretty okay. It goes through Taunt. It targets protectors in particular, right? We want to kill protectors with blue guys, so we crit red guys, which is kind of actually unlucky because now we go through Taunt if we wanted to with Serpent's Bite, but we kind of want to shoot the guys that are taunting. So a little bit of lost equity there just in terms of the way that the lines of text line up, but looks like a cool ability. We'll see what it looks like at max level in a second. Mend Beast, 4 speed, so it happens around and before our Muklas and our Krushes, and it maybe even gets faster as we level up. Restore 3 health to a character. If it's a beast, also give it plus 3 health. This looks like it's going to be a nice heal. And again, we're already messing up people's numbers with Mukla. We're messing up people's numbers with the Krush having potentially all of a sudden another... it can summon a Devilsaur. Mukla can summon a Beast with Taunt. We're throwing bananas around sometimes. Those things are getting messed up. Anacondra now suddenly is healing for 30. Like, basically like a half of your health at the max level, which we'll see in a second. That's pretty strong. And then her last ability is Nightmare Viper. Summon another beast. We have a third character that can combine with King Krush's Terrify to get another +5 and beyond attack. So it seems perfect, right? This is exactly kind of what we were talking about. We want to target some casters. We want to summon beasts. We want to heal some stuff. We have a dot. We just have a kind of a damage ability that is, sure, it's fine. Well, we would kind of assume that we're going to be using Anacondra as a support for the most part, right? Where she's going to come in, heal, and then potentially just summon a Nightmare Viper. And this says this minion's attack is always equal to its health. Guess what happens if you give it like plus 15 health? Now you're giving plus 15 to your Vipers. Some cool stuff starts to happen. So, whoops, that's the wrong one to slide. Let's slide this puppy over here. So we're going to get rid of Uther here, and we're going to find Lady Anacondra. So, max level Lady Anacondra now looks like this. 7 attack. Yikes. Terrible attack. But she never actually uses her own attack to deal damage. So it doesn't really matter. All that it means is that she doesn't punch back very hard when she gets punched. And again, red guys are critting Anacondra. So most of the tanks, most of the protectors don't do a ton of damage. Anacondra is actually relatively safe, which is pretty cool to see, right? Like, the green guys die very slowly unless you have very aggressive protectors. And in this comp, we're already kind of okay against protectors because we can taunt, we can heal a good amount. The protectors tend to not have a ton of good damage abilities. So this comp is already looking pretty juicy in terms of a split. Again, you get countered by like triple protectors, and if they don't have casters, then now we're not ever critting anything. But sure, fine, not bad, not bad. Max level. Serpent's Bite deals 6 damage to a character. At the end of this turn, it takes another 6. So this against blue guys crits for 12 and then crits for 12. That's a lot of damage. We were saying that King Krush was hitting for like 30, but it's lowest health enemy. This one gets to, again, go from a range. King Krush has to take damage when he attacks things, stuff like that. And so Anacondra's damage is pretty good, and we'll see that it actually gets even better when we look at her ability or her equipment. Mend Beast goes down to a 4 speed, or still, sorry, I think it stays at a 4 speed. Restore 15 health to a character. If it's a beast, also give it 15 health. So literally in many cases, a heal for 30. You're not really using it on turn 1 because you haven't really taken much damage by 4 speed in many cases. But if there's ever a 3 speed, if there's ever a 4 speed that you can happen after, you might actually be able to catch something with the Anacondra heal. But we're playing Mukla, so we have a taunt up, which means that especially so, any fast abilities that would come out before the Anacondra heal are probably getting stopped by the Mukla taunt. So you're almost certainly not going to be Mending Beast on turn 1 very often. Because you're not just going to get enough equity out of the heal. Maybe it's fine to just give plus 15 health, right? Like maybe that's actually legit. Just put King Krush to an 85 health guy right away. Like, sure, that seems fine. And then Nightmare Viper is still slow, still has a cooldown. And awkwardly, like, can't happen on turn 1. And then even when it happens on turn 2, it's really slow. It's an 8. So Nightmare Viper starts to look pretty bad. It would have had to be summoned very quickly so that King Krush could Terrify, get the Beast Pump. And technically you can line this up where you go turn 1 on Anacondra is just Serpent's Bite. Turn 2 is a very slow Viper. But then King Krush on turn 3 gets to go untap Terrify, check for the Viper, get the pump. But now by that point, King Mukla's taunt is gone. So you basically just get to do the same-ish thing, but you kind of wasted Anacondra's attack. It gets a little awkward. It gets a little odd. It doesn't look like Anacondra's going to be here for the Nightmare Viper summon more than anything. The numbers just seem a little bit... You have to survive for 3 turns. You have to survive for 2, 4 turns, stuff like that. So, like, we're not really worried about that. But that's how I would evaluate and start thinking about these abilities. That Serpent's Bite looks pretty good. Mend Beast, again, has tons of good number fuckery, which is great. Let's look at the equipment. Toxic Venom. This is the one where we had to get confirmation on recently, but I believe we did get confirmation that Serpent's Bite deals 4 more damage. It's not just on the first half, it's on both. So now, Serpent's Bite goes crit you for 20, crit you for 20. Anacondra suddenly becomes the qualifying into the ace damage of range here, where if you can deal... If you can deal 40 damage, that's kind of the goal, right? Like, that is the ideal amount, if anything, the maximum amount that can actually be done. On turn 1 with, like, no real bump, with no real buffs of any spark. So many of those words did not make any sense. With no real buffs on turn 1, the most damage that you can deal looks to be 40 on a crit. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, where the average health is 3 to 4. A crit is dealing 2 of that 4. You can always, for the most part, you can basically always 2-shot people if you crit them for 40 back to back. So Anacondra is one of those options that actually gets to shoot casters for 40, which is nice if you have Toxic Venom. So this puts her into a very high DPS class right off the bat. Signet of the Wild, the second equipment. Mend Beast also restores health to Lady Anacondra. Big whoop, who cares? We don't really care about healing her. As long as she gets off 1 or 2 abilities or the Nightmare Summon at the end right before she dies, that's more than plenty. Getting just a Serpent's Bite crit for 40 is, again, a good enough use of your character. If you can get a character that is in there, crit for 40 and then die, sure. That tends to be a reasonable pace, a reasonable speed. If she doesn't just get 1 shot, you threaten critting for 40 again. The odd issue is that you, like, crit for 40 and then you hit for 20 and then you, like, overkill because it actually might not kill them right away, or they get killed before the second tick, so now you're only shooting for like 40 and 20. which now your average DPS falls by a lot if you're not getting the full 40 out of it. So you kind of have to like shoot 2 different casters, and that can get kind of awkward. But King Krush has the death blow when they go low, but now you don't really want to death blow stuff if they have a bleed on them. Like, you don't want to execute them if they have a bleed that's about to tick. So some awkward things start to pop up, and whether or not the game flow will support that, whether it will kind of double down on it and make it really annoying, that remains to be seen. Can you play around it? Can you force the Anacondra Krush Mukla comp to kind of feel the awkward squeeze of some of their numbers? Potentially. That's where the next level shit comes into play when it comes to PvP. And again, this is a random lineup of 3 beast face-up day 1 combos. Who knows what's actually out there? And we've done a lot to check. We've done a lot to look. We started comboing things together, but there's always so many decisions you can make in every turn. Who you sub in from the bench, when, why, how you build your deck before you even queue up for PvP. Every 10 minutes, I feel like I'm saying this, but the depth, the theoretical, the hopeful depth for this game is truly ludicrous. Truly, truly, truly ludicrous. Okay. So it kind of looks like our lineup, our opening lineup would be something like King Krush with, depends. We could say the Terrify gets another +4 attack for each of our beasts. If we want to try to high roll the Mukla with the Beast Summon Taunt, maybe it's worth it to just take Terrify to get another +4. But technically, like, Flaming Claws is just another +8, and so it's checking like Mukla, Krush, and the Beast. So I suppose you could say that Terrify is going to give another +12, and so if you're going to open with Terrify, maybe we want Fresh Meat. Seems okay. So King Krush with Fresh Meat, Mukla with Mukla's big brother, and then Anacondra with Toxic Venom. And we've got an opening lineup. What does that turn 1 look like? We can actually literally kind of write it out. And this is what the people that are doing some of the sims kind of start to show and talk about. But it looks like this. Turn 1. Look at the speed of our abilities. Mukla can do nothing. Anacondra can Serpent's Bite on 5 or Men Beast on 4. King Krush can Terrify on 4 or Apex Predator on 5. Most of the time, I think we were just saying that we would like to be able to Terrify right off the bat and try to catch that big brother. So we'll say Terrify at 5. And then we have Serpent's Bite. Oops. Oh my god. I keep not making the size of these the right size. So you go Terrify at 5, and then you go Serpent's Bite. Sorry, Terrify's at 4. So Terrify happens first at 4. You Serpent's Bite at 5. And then you Banana Frenzy at 7. So our turn 1, the Terrify ends up doing, let's see. Let's say that our taunt survives, right? Hey, Crimson Panda, how's it going? I think with Big Brother, it's good. We get 27 attack on speed 4. Yeah, which is huge, right? So our Terrify right now is looking to do... we have 11 attack. Terrify gives +9. Let's say we're taking Fresh Meat. So we Terrify for +9 from King Krush, 9 from Mukla, and then 9 from the Big Brother. So add 27. So our attack literally goes up to 38. And then we attack a random enemy. So we do 38 to 76 damage turn 1 from King Krush. We were just talking about the ace damage being 40. It turns out that Krush's opening DPS, as long as the Mukla Big Brother is alive, which a lot of the times it will be, this is going to go off again on a 4 speed. You have to get multiple attacks in on a neutral minion, because the summoned beast has taunt, and so it's just a neutral, so it can't get crit. So you have to get basically multiple sub 4 speed attacks in to not get the Terrify bonus. So I think it's relatively safe to say that the 38 punch is pretty locked in. And then if, God forbid, if you hit a blue guy, the blue guy just disappears. Which, like, even just that alone, right? Like, think about that by itself. If you just, with this build, if you go against a lineup that has 2 casters in it, you're favored to just at 4 speed go, oops, your guy's dead. No action. No buff. No speed. They don't even get to blink. And one of their guys is gone. That alone should raise some eyebrows when it comes to this comp. Anacondra hasn't done anything. Mukla just came in for the battle cry. That's good. That's big. That like legitimately makes King Krush a viable consideration. What better thing to do in a game that has numbers between 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 to be able to make something go down to 0? Like, King Krush actually has, again, it's random, so that's not great. And again, against a double blue comp, you're favored. Against a single blue comp, you're unfavored to do this. So the average damage is probably still only going to be something like probably the 55 range, like in between that 38 to 76. You take Oath for Claws instead as well. The odds of using Terrify 3 times as low. Well, no, that's the thing, is that no. Terrify by itself gives you plus 27, and then you punch, because it checks Krush, Mukla, and our big brother, right? And so it gains plus 5 attack for each beast. Terrify gives an additional plus 4 attack, unless it's not plus 4 per beast, right? It could just be that the way that this actually should read is it gives plus 5, plus 5, plus 5, and then an additional 4. We don't know. So those kind of things are what is currently stymieing the theory crafting community right now, right? Is like, we don't know. Those kind of things we don't know. So the best case scenario is it gives plus 4 for every beast, which would make sense, right? Like, why would you ever take Terrify? If Terrify only gives a flat plus 4 that doesn't scale with how many beasts you have, you would always take Flaming Claws, right? So it has to probably be that it's plus 4 per beast. So it says, hey, if you want to play beasts, fresh meat's better. If you don't, you can just take Flaming Claws. Design-wise, that tracks, and so it's almost certainly actually plus 4 for every beast. So he gets the fatty plus 27 right away, and just munches someone. So pretty good. Serpent's Bite is going to shoot for 5, so weirdly now, Anacondra wants to also shoot casters. But Krush is trying to just gobble up every caster right away. If they have one caster, you probably still just go for targeting it with Anacondra. So let's say the Serpent Bite hits for, again, 10 plus 10 if we're using the Toxic Venom. Hope that you don't accidentally overlap the two abilities with King Krush and Anacondra like that. But yeah, so that I think is kind of a little awkward. And honestly, what we're starting to realize here is that Anacondra doesn't even look that good in this comp. We might just literally want to go for a third beast right off the bat. So let's continue to kind of lab out turn 1 and see how we feel about it. Banana Frenzy comes after that. So Anacondra ideally, again, shoots something for 10 and 10 or 5 and 5. Or sorry. She shoots for 10 and 10 or 20 and 20. So she shoots for, we'll do this, 20 or 40. The 20-40. So again, she kind of caps out at that ace damage of 40, but oddly slow. If you accidentally kill him first, you don't get the damage. So she seems fine. Again, at the very least, you'll still get a hit for 20. That goes at a 5 speed. It's okay. You have the upside of the Men Beast that are kind of sitting on our back line. Maybe she wants to just actually go for Men Beast instead, right? Maybe King Krush is just that much of a baller that you'd rather go for Men Beast on 4. The cool thing about this is that I believe, again, this is another thing that we don't know super well, and I think the PvP videos and like Slissas and those Trump, etc., I think this is now known that if you have tide speed abilities, you get to dictate the order of them. I'm not positive, but I think that's how it works. And if it does work like that, now maybe we actually want to Mend Beast right after King Krush attacks, right? Because now he's going to attack a random enemy, take some damage in the punch back, and so we actually get a full heal for him back up to 15 with Mend Beast, and then an additional 15 health. Krush goes after turn 1, basically ends up going up to 90. He's not dying next turn. He, again, gets gobbled up by Protectors, but Protectors aren't doing a ton of damage. Protectors aren't really critting for 40 very often. So maybe you'd actually say, now we don't even care about Serpent's Bite, we just go straight into Men Beast instead. Honestly, totally reasonable. Or Men Beast on... And then we get Banana Frenzy at 7, which just ends up shooting, like, Mukla punches something. You give 5 random abilities, 5 random bananas, which actually kind of sucks, because your Krush is already attacked. Your Mukla will get some of the pumps, so let's say on average, Mukla gets... Even just let's high roll it and say that Mukla gets 2 bananas, right? And so he goes to a 13 attack, and he attacks something. Big whoop. For, let's say, 13 to 26, which is fine. Again, right? And you give some buffs over to Krush, but like the plus attack on Anacondra just doesn't matter at all, right? It is confirmed that we can choose our turn order. Nice. Okay, sweet. Yeah, it would suck if randomness just truly threw it away, right? That would be the way that you just fuck up the system entirely, and you just have people get insta-tilted and like you can't control it. That would be a nightmare for. I'm glad that it's... I was pretty sure that it was mostly confirmed, but it's good to have the second confirmation there. So after turn 1, we've attacked for... Let's say Crush's damage on average is... Oh, we also get our monkey attack too. I don't know what the Mukla's big brother speed is, but... let's say it attacks for like 15 damage, that it gets attacked... Oh no, duh, we just said it's a 12. So it probably attacks for just 12. It probably just has a attack. So let's say monkey attacks for 12. So at some speed, we're not super sure right now. So we end up dealing... Hey, pull out. We're still on... No, we're on all of them. We have Krush, Mukla, and Anacondra. This is at the end of our turn 1. We've dealt... Let's say that Krush dealt 55. That Serpent's Bite did 30. Banana Frenzy hit for 18. Put it in the middle. And then Monkey did 12. So we end up dealing basically on the nose, what, 115, 125 damage, something like that? 30, 30, 115. Yeah. So we get 115 damage off on... I literally never clicked this text wrapping thing in my life, and then I just happened to use it already in like a day. Or like so many times today. The... Become visible. So 115 damage. That's pretty good. What this really means is that you will be hopefully killing only really one merc. So that's fine. That's good. And again, King Krush by himself is going to do enough of that murdering, it seems. So this lineup basically says, or like the good parts about this lineup is that it has a taunt. It has... Let's actually put these in a... That fat border. No, only on the outside, please. Not this one. Okay, very funny. Okay. The good part about this lineup is that, yeah, it hits for just Krush alone, basically. Slams people. And then you can, yeah, you set up for, like Wesley was just saying there, that the option to be able to jump in on right away on turn 2, and you get to Apex Predator and double attack. And Apex Predator is about to do an actual infinity amount of damage on turn 2, which is good, because King Mukla also gets to do the primal power. And literally King Krush's ability, like damage on turn 2 is 11 plus 27 plus 15. So it has literally, what, 50? And so if you death blow something, you just have to set someone up to be death blown on turn 2, and then he gets to do that twice. And so you munch for 50, munch for 50. King Krush's damage is actually out of this world. And truly, I think the worst thing about this is just that Anacondra isn't really necessary. I think the best part about her is that she might guarantee that your Krush allows to live until turn 2 to be able to get the Apex Predator plus Primal Power off. And that might actually just be fine. Because turn 2 is, yeah, like... Apexing for... Yeah, what did we say? You have 38 attack order. Yeah, like 52. So you end up critting for, like... You get to deal 50 to maybe, what, 150 damage? Something, like, insane. And that ends up killing another 2 mercenaries, at least, it seems, on turn 2, especially when someone's low. So by turn 2, you've triple killed. That's pretty good. And I think it's also kind of safe to say that you'll have lost 1 to 2 mercenaries by the end of turn 2. And you're almost never getting triple killed back, right? You can set up a second target for the Crush's Death Blow. Yeah, you might even be able to set up the triple kill, right? Like if you actually order your stuff right and like really look 2 turns ahead with all your abilities, you might be able to slam the super kill. But again, without the Serpent's Bite, now your Banana Frenzy and your Monkey Attack really don't do that much. And so you're kind of forced to use the Serpent's Bite, I think, from Anacondra to get in that extra damage. So it turns out that we might, yeah, again, kind of double back and say, Anacondra might not be the best way to do it. But the Men Beast is probably like, let's say that, nope, fuck it. Anacondra is just there to let our King Krush hard carry pop off. And I think that's totally viable. And especially say they're trying to target or burn King Krush down. Anacondra might get to the point where she can actually just stick a Nightmare Viper on turn 2 instead. She has a fast Men Beast as well, right? Like that's a really big deal that you have to try to deal 90 damage to King Krush on turn 1 through a taunt. And then if you don't kill him, Anacondra heals for another 30 the turn after that, and King Krush gets immune while attacking. So normally he would be taking another like 15 damage or whatever on average or something. Let's say 10 damage on average from attacking through the Terrify from last turn. And Apex Predator was going to punch for 2, hopefully. So say you take another 20 that way. You don't. So King Mukla heals for 20 essentially on turn 2. Anacondra heals for 30 on turn 2. She heals for 30 on turn 1. This is essentially just the all-in King Krush comp. And it seems pretty good. It seems pretty sweet. And honestly, like, that's fine. King Krush with a huge ton of health. Again, he goes up to like 100 or whatever, more than 100 health. Kind of awkward that Anacondra's abilities now, like the Serpent's Bite doesn't really look that good. And Signet of the Wilds healing her, maybe that just ends up being better, right? That you take Signet on her so that she just gets to survive the onslaught. So she heals for 15 on turn 1. She's probably not taking very much damage unless they think that they have to burn her. Then Signet of the Wilds kind of catches them off guard, where if they go, okay, a 3-speed or a 4-speed ability on Anacondra, she heals Krush, and then heals herself for 15. Most of the time you kind of miss on that, though, so I'm not sure if this item is really worth it. It seems like a lot of the times this item literally has no text, which is the last thing that you want from your items, but Serpent's Bite also has no text if we just go back-to-back Men Beast, and then Snake Stacks has no text if we never summon a Nightmare Viper. So her items are actually kind of whack unless you use the Toxic Venom, which is a plus 16 damage on an item, which is a lot. That's what you really look for. Question here is, what do we have off the back end, and how do we stop from just getting deleted by a double blue starting team? Good question. Let's keep going and find out. I was gonna think about whether or not we wanted to